guys, I don't want to ever take for granted the power and the content that comes out of these high six weekly masterminds. They're just the mini masterminds we have each week. And this particular one, as you'll see, I just opened it up with a thought I had over the weekend, and that was, how can we improve? If you look back to last week, how could you have improved? How could you have done better? And I think what ensued after that is worth a watch, because you might get a nugget or two or three that you can put into action literally at the end of this 25 or so minutes. So if you look at last week, a little bit different twist to how we usually do it. What are the two things? You can come up more if you want, but what are the two things primarily that you could have done better in hindsight? Because it's something, let me give this some context. It's something I used to journal every day. It's what made me think of it. Every day, at the end of the day, and just say, look, what was the best thing, like a positive focus that happened today? What could I have been better at? And I got thinking, why don't I ask the whole group, like, what are the two things you could have been better at last week that you can improve on if you could go back and do them? Whoever wants to go first. And I sort of like that for the day, Brian. I don't know if there's a theme.
No, that's great. That's great. The two things that just came to mind, which I put in my report, is my diet and my areas of focus.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. And yes. And you brought them up last week. So it's not like you didn't pay attention. You brought one of them up.
Right.
Okay. Who else?
I'll go. I think one thing for me is just, I could do better on it. I mean, I'm sure for a lot of people, but is my scripting, it's getting better. But just some of my follow-up questions with people, diving deeper in with them, finding out their why, finding out the pain points, and then two, fine tuning it. Not, my times are getting down, which is good because I'm sticking to the script, but getting to the meat and potatoes, if they're even worth dealing, are they motivated or not? Getting to that quicker, so I'm not wasting time. So.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back through, Brian and Kyle, to say, okay, what are we gonna do about it? Like for action items, what can we do about it this week? Who else?
I'd say mine is getting too engrossed with buyer processes and not focusing on seller dials. And I know a lot of stuff came up with title issues and all this other stuff with the two properties I'm dealing with, and it really drains the time. And the other thing is I spent quite a bit of time trying to decipher what's going on with the conversion rate with my VA, Angela. And it's just, she's not getting enough leads. So she's going back through old ones, and it's just, she's not getting the conversion rate.
So Rick, let me clarify. So we're clear, then we go back, we see what we got to fix. One sounds like, tell me if I'm wrong, the first one sounds like you want to make sure you can prioritize your schedule so you can make sure you get your seller dials in while also dealing with all this stuff. Is that correct on the first one?
Right.
What is the second one that you could go back and do? Like, what do you think of that? Not the answer, but what, just so I'm clear.
Well, the second one was spending a lot of time trying to figure out what's going on with the conversion rates of the VA. And I mean, she's making calls, they're almost identical to MJ. It's just what she's getting for leads from My Plus Leads, there isn't enough to keep her that busy without going back through older ones.
So if you could go back and do something better, you're saying the item is figure out a way to get her more leads. Am I hearing you right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right. I should be clear. Okay. Who else?
I'll go. What I could have done better last week, I had a lot of health appointments last week, so that kind of throws off my schedule. But I could have maybe like blocked off time better. Like, like last week, it felt like I was like putting out fires as they came up. Like instead of like having a good schedule around the appointments that I have, because I always have a lot of health appointments, and of course I work part-time. So I need to do that better. And I started today with that again. So I've done it before, but I could have definitely done that better last week. So it was kind of like, I was running emergency, making calls and talking with John about Fun and Grill, and it was just not balanced last week. I could have definitely done that better.
Okay, I have a solution. I'm going to go back through for your own solutions, right? But I have a solution as I think of them, like I just did with Rick, and that is, Corolla, everyone, on either Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, whatever works for you. I don't know what works for you. For Zach, it's Sunday morning. For me, it's Saturday morning. that is to set the whole week up schedule wise. Like I know that on 9 o'clock on Sunday, I'm going to get thereabouts. I know Zach's calendar. I'm going to get a question or two about the schedule because he's working on a schedule. And I expect that, or a tweak or a change. So maybe if you look at your whole week and you go, oh shoot, I don't know that, like you got to work it before you get to it. That's all. We'll come back to it, but that's my small suggestion. John, did you have one? So you guys can split them.
Yeah, I got a call. I had a call follow-up to do on Sunday, and I read it. What my VA's notes were. And I had a preconception about it because I know another one of these persons that wants this, and that, and the other. And I called her, and I was like way off scripts. I don't think I handled the call very as good as I'm capable of. And it's just because of this, I went in with these, instead of following the scripts and going through and treating it like a clean slate, I went in there with these ideas of what it was that she wanted. Turns out she's a viable lead. I'm going to talk to Brian about it today, send some stuff over.
So if you could go back and do a do-over, it sounds like, because at the beginning I didn't get it all with the connection. It sounds like a little more better listening, but also not going in with a preconceived notion. Am I hearing that right?
Yeah, I think it's the preconceived notion part. It's that I just need to follow the scripts instead of thinking I know how it's going to go. I mean, I can still think I know how it's going to go, but I should treat every call, give it the right amount of attention and not try to blow it off and half-ass it, basically.
Asking questions to clarify instead of thinking we know, right? Okay, right. We'll come back. Mr. Pete, I got to turn this off. It's too loud. Mr. Pete.
So I would say my thing that I could do better and I'm working on is intention. And I have my journal here. And I wish we could find a trimester journal, but this really dials in well with everything that we do, our big three: intention of prioritizing. And that's something that I constantly have to work on so that I'm tackling the most important activities every day. And if I can do that, then everything else should fall into place. So that's kind of where I need to strengthen my skill set.
I have a suggestion on that one too. There's an app that I have it's for more health. All the chairmen have ordered it, but in it, it's Aura, O-U-R-A. But in it, there's some morning, they call it Explore. You can meditate, breathe, whatever you want to do. They're 4 to 12 minutes. They're tiny. But one that it's grown on me is there is exactly what you're talking about. And you set your intentions to be and to do each morning. It's like 4 or 5 minutes. Very cool, because you're breathing with it too. You might like that. And if you don't have that app and you don't get it, then just do that as a meditation in the morning, a to be and a to do, because the to be has nothing to do with what you're trying to get done that day, right? It's just who you want to be.
What was the app called again?
Aura, O-U-R-A. It's the ring you see me wear. I wore it back when Tony Robbins' son coached me in 20. I wore it pretty heavily. Mm-hmm. And then I went away from it on purpose. It was just too much because it's a lot of stuff it tracks. It's the most sophisticated health and like tracker there is. It has all the other stuff like the Fitbit and all that crap. It's all in one. It's in your ring. Oxygen level, everything you can imagine. So I'm back on it for about a year sprint, at least till summit, because I want to dial everything back in. And then the chairman all got it, because we're going to do it as a group. We're going to share stats and
nice.
Really cool.
And there's a lot of power in setting up your week, and my journal can do that. it's a discipline of making sure that it happens.
Yep. Pete, I would think that's a simple, again, I'm old school. It's a simple daily power of one daily discipline chart. Did I do my meditation? Did I do this? I do this, and keep it on your wall, and you're accountable to you. It's so powerful when you can't check the box and it's you. You don't have anyone looking over your shoulder. It's just you. Yeah. Crazy. That's why we did that years ago. Jose, you were on your cell. I don't know if you caught what we were doing. Did you catch it?
Yes, I did. I caught it.
Yeah. So 2 things.
So the one thing that I would like to become more consistent on is time blocking. Always finding a 2-hour increment so that I can do my calls.
So last week, you don't feel you did that as one of the things?
No.
Okay.
And, I could use all the excuses under the sun,
like
doing buyers instead of sellers, and, being concerned and and getting that rolling, the takes that I have.
Yep.
So, but you're right, it's still being consistent, making time, well, I know when it's coming down so that I be consistent in doing that.
Okay. This goes for everyone. I know this sounds simple, but like when I was by myself, I always go back to it because I got to put myself in your shoes. I had to do all the same things. So when buyers started before Nick came on, I had to do it all.
Right.
The only way to do it is to get, if it's 2 hours and okay, so 2 50-minute slots, let's say it's 8 to 10 or 8:30 to 10:30 in the morning, whatever it is, that you booked on your calendar like it's a doctor appointment. I know you guys have heard me say this before. There's no way. Corolla had doctor appointments last week. Corolla, was it safe to say there's no way you would have missed one? You wouldn't have missed the doctor, right?
Nope.
Okay. So you got to book your prospecting time. It's your most important appointment for the week. It's like a doctor's appointment. Just liken it to that in your brain. So 9 to 11, whatever it is, nothing gets done or booked. You're going to the doctor. Instead, you're going to your phone.
Mm-hmm.
We all got to get straight on that, or else we're going to be upside down. And then everything else will fill in. It's like whoever did it first, Wayne Dwyer, whoever did it with the rocks going in the jar, right? You got to put the big ones in first, and then the next one. Then all those shit can sprinkle through. And you don't start with the sand. You're never going to fit the big stuff in. Make sense? Hope everybody's heard that analogy.
Yeah.
Well, that made no sense whatsoever. Paul, real quick, what we did, and we got to find a way to get you on here in time, buddy. What we're doing is 2 things. If you can go back to last week, 2 things. Jose, I did one major one. If you could go back to next week in hindsight and change it, what 2 things would you like to improve? Do better.
Well, figuring out my priorities is probably related to what Jose was talking about, how to be more, well, how to be more consistent, but that's related to all the different choices. So for example, why I was late to this was right before this is a law firm mindset meeting. And I was getting something out of that. So I was really torn anyway. So,
was the meeting okay? 2 things. Pete's suggestion is good for you. Set your intentions in the morning, but then more minute, Jose's suggestion is good for you. Both those items are good for you. Question for you. The meeting right before this, was it 10 to 11, 10:30 to 11? I'm going Eastern time, sorry, but was it?
Well, it's, so it starts an hour early and sorry about that. It starts an hour early or earlier, and then it kind of just goes until it ends.
Is it your law office meeting or you're part of a group?
Part of a group.
Okay. So does it always go over 11, and what do they have you book for time slot?
Yeah, it typically does. Typically I just stop and I join this meeting.
But what do they have it? What do they publish the schedule for? An hour?
That's a good point. I think they actually publish it for like 3 hours. So, but the idea is to have it be like an hour and a half. So it usually goes half an hour into this one.
Okay, I got you. So it does conflict. So you just you got to make a decision.
Yeah.
And let them know.
I understood. And I usually join this one, but actually, the discussion that overlapped completely relates to this. So it had to do with figuring out what is actually effective and working on those things instead of like figuring out what makes the money or what moves the needle.
Do they record the sessions, Paul?
Yeah.
Okay, so you get the recording every week.
Good point. Yeah, good point.
You just make a decision to do that or not. So it's sometimes with my team, there's some super important.
Sorry, Teresa emailed me. She's not on Slack. Sorry.
Teresa's in Slack.
No,
Yeah,
emailed
I talked to her the weekend. She's on there. Teresa B. Brian, that was about Teresa B for Nick. There's some very important meetings, Paul, that our team has. And whether I'm in Vermont or whether I'm on the road or whatever, I just tape it, and it's even more efficient because I tell whoever's running the meeting to tape it and send it to me and assign it to me, and I do it on my time. So when Zach was traveling last week in San Diego in ungodly hours, I knew, but when he came back Monday, he'd know every meeting we had, and he did. I didn't have to ask him. I knew he watched every meeting. So just schedule that stuff when you have downtime, that extra half hour.
Right.
Okay, just a thought.
Yeah, but-
Well,
But what-
I'd be okay if you started that comment with "and," not "but." So what were you going to say next?
Oh, okay. What was the question again?
I didn't ask anything else. Didn't know if you had a second one. So
No,
you got kind of like my suggestions would be a little bit of Pete's every morning intentional thing about your day, and a little bit of Jose. You got to do a hard block, but then when I understood your meeting, I'm suggesting you just record have them resend your recording. That's all.
Yeah.
Watch it in your downtime.
Okay.
Does anyone have any comments on those comments for us, or just further discussion or questions? Because this is good stuff to dive into.
Yeah, Chris, I just want to add then on the hard block, because many times we have things during the week that come up that weren't planned, and you have to then make time for it. You got to take care of that emergency first. That time block, pick two or three different options of where you can fit that time block. If it's 2 hours, it could be from 10 to 12. It could be from 2 to 4, or is it going to be from 4 to 6?
Give me an example of last week, or if you could think of one, or a week before of an emergency that might get in the way of a 9 to 11 a.m. block of prospecting calls, for example.
I get an inspection called in that I have to go out and do the inspection that morning
From a client,
from a client, from a
they,
realtor.
but a realtor calls you and expects you to be at
Yeah.
that inspection that morning.
Not that morning. Usually they give you at least a day notice. Okay.
Okay.
So
Can
what
I
I'm
comment?
saying-
Hold on. I got a comment here. I want to make sure we're still keeping on track. So as a realtor and being in the business for 31 years, I have never, maybe a few exceptions, been able to get an inspection within 24 hours. Lately, since COVID, it's taken weeks. So all I'm saying is that's not an emergency.
Okay.
So when you get done your outgoing calls, that realtor, that star realtor, probably left a message, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so you're going to call them after. So what else would you think might be an emergency, honestly?
For me, that's the only thing that I would stop for.
We fixed it.
To do an inspection. Yeah, that's the
Great.
only.
We fixed it.
I do one in the morning. I do one in the afternoon. And if someone schedules one tomorrow that I don't know about, when I check my calendar, I'll switch. When I do my hours.
Okay, so how about this? Where are they calling when they call you? This is for everybody, by the way, this comment. Where are they calling when they call you?
What do you mean? Where are they calling?
Cell phone, voice, what are they getting?
Mostly they're calling a house phone number dedicated to taking calls for the inspection business.
Perfect. So everyone, on your voicemails, I know I've said this before, on your voicemail system and your email, both, pretty sure Brian does this, you set the expectation on there. If that line's dedicated for home inspections, hi, it's Jose. I'm tied up every day from 9 to 11 or whatever that is. I'm going to return all my calls between 1 and 3, 12 to 1, whatever it is. And if you're calling about inspection, I'll schedule it with you within this amount of time, 24 hours.
Right.
Done. Then you're not worried about it when you're calling. You're not going, oh, I wonder if they're calling. They're not going, this guy's an idiot. He's not picking up his phone. They go, oh, thanks. He's calling me between 1 and 3. Great. I can't wait for him to call.
All right.
That should be on all of your voicemails, no matter what other businesses you're running. It should be on all your businesses and your emails. And you'll have less conversations, less phone tag, and less conversations on email. If I go check my email now for Smart Coach, I maybe have 5 if I checked it right now. If I checked it 2 years ago when the company was maybe half the size, I would have 55. The difference is management. Does this make sense, you guys?
Yes.
So how's that work with like a W-2? Because I cannot put off, managing people, things come up and there goes my time block.
Yeah, they'd probably fire you.
Yeah.
No, yours is different than his, Rick. You got to sneak it in. I understand. And I hope we're 2 deals away from that not having to be a discussion, but I agree with you.
That's it. He won't have to worry about it long.
Legitimate. Rick has brought up a legitimate one. Thank you, sir.
Well, can I comment on that, please?
Of course, I want questions and comments, and I don't want to leave this with someone going, we didn't talk with this, or he doesn't know about this. Yeah, I want you to be open about this.
While Rick's situation is likely legitimate, I think a lot of W-2 employees, especially in our community, it's not legitimate. So meaning that you can set boundaries with your employer. something I've been thinking about talking to the community about. You choose to answer the email. You choose to. I did this for my whole life. I was waiting for someone to send me shit. So I was waiting to be reactive. I was trained to do that for years. If your boss wants to get in touch with you, they'll find a way to get in touch with you if you don't answer the email. Because that's what happened to me. Like if I didn't answer an email, he hit me up on Microsoft Teams or he texts me or whatever. It's like if they want to get in touch with you, they can get in touch with you. So emails is a complete time suck. I think even for W-2 employees, that's a choice, and you can set the boundaries with your employer. And if you present it in a way where you're more efficient, like, hey, I'm wasting a bunch of time answering these stupid ass emails and going to meeting after meeting after meeting, I could be a lot more productive and efficient if I were to manage my time in this way.
Brian, would you not even take that to the next level and say on that last comment and have a productive conversation with your team or superior saying, I think I can be much more productive if I do A, B, and C?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yep. I think just most of us are afraid to have that discussion.
Alan Weiss talked about it in his book, Sustain Your Game. That's why I'm bringing that up. He just talked about it when I was listening to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see, the thing is with me, I'm online through either Zoom or they can monitor activity on a computer. So if the thing times out,
He does work for the government.
yeah.
Like I said, I preface it with Rick's legitimate. Yeah. No,
Find Rick on
I get
TV.
it. I get it. But others are just use it as an excuse.
Okay.
Totally.
Good nuggets, Brian, either way, because pieces of that are all that can be used. I'm going to bring up one more that I just thought of for everyone, because this morning, I won't tell you who, but I'll have a discussion later with him today. Someone on my team said, hey, I just got dinged when you change an appointment. Why are you getting dinged? Like, that is a no-no. You should not have notifications, in my opinion, unless it's for work and you need a certain thing. You should not have notifications pinging you and all this shit on your cell phone. That's, again, my opinion. I think it's a total distraction, stuff I used to do. You won't have email or anything on my phone. There's nothing on my phone that you can get me on except for text. I got to get to a computer to get to that shit. Might be a hard one. If it is, tell me why, but it'll be liberating when you finally let go of it.
I honestly think that that the more deals I get, the less I'm going to care about all that other stuff. Okay, and my scheduling is going to become even greater. You know what I'm saying? I'll be able to.
I do,
efficiently.
because when I was in more of the want mode, Jose, I'll call it lack mode, I would have a need, and maybe Brian was alluding to this indirectly. I would have a need to check shit because I needed to make shit happen, I thought.
Right.
But if you just focus on those one or two needle movers and trust that the other shit's going to happen, I hear you loud and clear. That was a good point. So start now, so you're not like shocked. I don't know.
If
Brian,
you read Dan Kennedy, he's a radical about this stuff.
has everybody read that? I used to literally read it once a year, if not more, and it's an easy read. Has everybody read his time management? His no BS time management? He has no BS everything, but have you read his no BS time management? No?
I haven't. But
Yeah.
It's a must.
The guy still said he still uses fax machines, for crying out loud.
Yes. John and Corolla raised the hand. If anyone else hasn't, Paul, with the stuff that you handle between your businesses, you absolutely should read this book. It's a quick read. All his books are quick reads. No BS time management. And he's probably revised it 14 times. I don't know. It's updated. Nick and I used to own the Rhode Island chapter for Dan Kennedy. So I'm very familiar with his stuff.
Yeah, I think this could be, I probably put this on the mastermind list, I would say, because I was thinking about this the other day. If email's in like your top 5 stuff to do, you're doing the wrong stuff. Like if that's something that's on any of your priorities, you're doing the wrong stuff.
Well, I have a question, Brian and everybody. This has been about a 20-minute conversation. I didn't intend that. Do you guys feel there'd be some nuggets here for the rest of the associates? And if so, are you okay with sharing it? And if not, just say no, because it's not that meaty. Whatever you think.
I think definitely, because this has always been a challenge, and I think it's common.
Okay. Is everybody else okay?
I agree.
Yeah, I think this is part of the growth that we need to have to be successful. This is definitely a growth behavior thing. So You know, your average person out there just gets so caught up in technology and always thinking everything is an emergency or urgent where it's not. I fall back sometimes, but I look at some of my email inboxes, and I've got over 20,000 emails in my inbox that I haven't even looked at. So I guess it's not that important. I'm not.
I got a suggestion there.
Yeah, just delete it.
Delete every freaking one of those 20,000, and the very few that are important will find you. Everyone.
That's right.
And I just don't have the time to unsubscribe from everybody, and then they want me to go through 2 or 3 steps to unsubscribe. So,
Brian, maybe we'll get this to the associates and then prompt conversation for a particular mastermind, perhaps next week. I'm making that up, but whatever you think, we'll talk about it.
Yeah. Okay. There's a lot in this.
By the way, I'm going to admit that I was looking at my email while I was going through this presentation because I'm waiting for a letter from a DocuSign that I'm waiting for this morning, and I just got it. But I'm not going to open it until after the meeting.
Jose, are you talking about the taken?
Yeah.
Okay, again.
So
It's still going to be there at 12:01.
All right, I'm going to wait.
All right. Well, how did you know you got that?
I got a 2-screen system and I have it open on the left-hand side.
Okay. So listen.
But I shouldn't do that. I should turn it on when I'm attending this meeting.
Your brain cannot do that well, even though the word multitask is like this thing. No, it's not. It's stupid. You can focus on one thing.
Right.
Okay.
Got
So you're
it.
going to change that, right?
Yes, sir. 3 bags full.